Okay, here's the situation we have going on here. We have an odd size opening that goes into a hallway in our house that separates pretty much one side of the house from the other. And so because this side doesn't get used very much, we wanted to put some kind of doorway here. But because it's an odd size, you just can't go to Home Depot and buy a door. So our first thought was we wanted to put one of those barn style, it's kind of trendy right now, sliding doors. But there's not enough room here to hang the hardware. And there's a light switch plate right there that sliding over it would cover. So that was out. So like I said, it's an oddball size. It's about 5 foot by 7'6". And I could have it custom made. I went to a custom door store and checked around. It was about $500, starting at $500. And the decor around here is kind of rustic. And we wanted to keep that. We had this custom bar made by a gentleman. He did a great job, custom stained it. Everything is kind of distressed looking. I don't know if the lighting is good for under the bar. You know, we have kind of distressed looking pine here. The pillar is pine. So we wanted to keep that same motif and decor going on whatever we put here. So I decided that instead of a sliding door or just traditional doors, we're going to put bifold doors, but I want to make them out of wood. I want to distress them. We're going to custom color the planks. So we started out, I bought the hardware. This track goes up here. Boom. And you can get this. I got this at Lowe's online. And it comes with all the hinges you're going to need, the little pins, the track glides, and stuff like that. I don't recall the price. I want to say it was around $50. It was reasonable. That's where we're going to start. Okay, so we got the planking all cut into fairly thin strips here. Anywhere from a half to a quarter, and that'll be fine. A little irregular, but I think it'll look good. Next, I'm gonna cut the core. I have a plywood core that I bought for each side. Now, if you remember, the measurements were, the opening was 5 feet by, actually it's like 5 feet and an inch by 87 inches or something like that. But you want to leave a gap all around the opening for this door to open and close. And that'll make more sense when you see us putting on the hardware and mounting the door. So take about an inch or so off each side. So we have an opening of 5 feet by 86 inches. And bifold doors, they'll be essentially 4 panels. And each side I'm going to make similar. So here I'm going to frame it in one of these here and then fill it maybe crossways with some wood or something like that. We'll develop that as we go along. So anyway, I'm going to cut these plywood cores into size and start getting the wood kind of lined up, just to kind of get it roughed in. And then we're going to distress this stuff. Right now it's too clean and pretty. We're going to make it look like it's been out in the weather. Okay, so I have my 2 sides cut, and then eventually I'm going to put boards on here, and then this will be cut in half, and there'll be a hinge, and that's where it'll fold. But I wanted to show you this because this is my stack of planking that I trimmed down. Showed you guys earlier. The problem is, as they sat around, because I actually started this project in the winter, and now it's in the middle of summer, but they have bowed and cupped, and so they're not true. And so I just wanted to show you what I did to kind of work around that. So I cut these. They're sitting on here, nice and flush. And I don't know if you can see, this is pretty tight, this is pretty tight, and I picked ones that were fairly straight. So it's gonna, let's see, that light is kind of bad. See how it kind of hangs over there? I will then, when this is all done and nailed and pinned on, I'll come back and plane these edges to true them up and hide some of that. Let's see, I think this side was even worse. I think it's good there, good here. Same thing, kind of bows out there. Let's see that, yeah. So I'll just plane these edges, and I'm going to cut. Like you can see how bad this is bowed, but I'll use this on an end, and I'll be able to clamp that down, and I think I'll be able to make that work. So these little, you know, this is maybe 18 inches right here, so I'll be able to use some of that warped lumber in here. So we'll see how it looks when I get them laid in. Okay, so I've got these cut, and I've filled the middle with the wood, as you can see. And so I began the distressing process. And so this first board, as you can see, I put on a custom stain. It used to look just like this board. Let's see if I can. And so what I put on there was I dissolved a 4/0, so that's 4/0 steel wool. That's the real fine steel wool, in a jar of vinegar, white vinegar. And it makes this kind of ambery liquid that when you wipe it on wood, within minutes it ages it, gives it like it's been sitting out for a year or so, kind of gives it a gray, depending on the wood, a gray to amber tone. And I roughed this board up pretty much. I left some of the tools out here so I can show you. My first and most favorite for distressing wood is just a wire brush, and I'll take you, and I really, let's see if we can see in here. It evacuates the softer part of the wood out and leaves the harder part. I think I went a little more aggressive on this one, that you can see it. Then another favorite tool is just a little peen hammer, leaves nice square marks. A ball peen hammer, which gives, you can hammer and gives that classic moon-shaped hammer marks like that. Then I used a file, and the other thing I used was just a grinder. And you can turn that on edge, and it gives it like, let's see if I can catch the light, the skipping and stuff. And this, the file did these little guys here, little divots. And I also used a spade bit and just stabbed it in. You can see the nail holes. Most things in life, less is more. But when it comes to distressing wood, it's been my experience that more is more. So, I mean, this looks terribly roughed up, but by the time it's stained and stuff like that, it'll just look natural. It'll look like an old piece of beat up wood, which is exactly what I want it to look like. So, this is one side of the panel, and obviously I've got to finish staining and distressing all this wood in here, and then I will cut this right down the middle where it'll fold. And then I have to do this on both sides. So as you can see, here's the veneer, the core, and there'll be another layer of veneer on the other side. And I'll show you that when we get to it. Okay, while distressing this wood, I was using this wire brush. Again, I mentioned I really love wire brushes, but it wasn't going deep enough or fast enough. So I upgraded to an angle grinder with a very burly rope brush looking thing on there, and it does a great job. And I'm going to show you kind of what I'm doing just in case you weren't sure how it worked. And so really I'm doing most of this with an angle grinder with just a flat disc, a hammer, and some stuff like that. So I'm going to do one real quick just so you can kind of see what it looks like. Okay, let's take a look at the finished product. That will work. Got some good graining in there. And like I keep repeating, I haven't done one yet where I went, oh, that's too much. So, I mean, I guess there is a point, but that's that. Okay, so I finished distressing one side of the panel and got it stained. This is what we're looking at. I just had to call my wife in. I wasn't sure if it'd be too busy. She loves it, and that is what's important. So, as you can tell, there's lots of different color in the wood. The goal, what I was trying to go for, is to make it look like I had to just scavenge all kinds of different woods from different piles, and so they're going to be different colors and different variations of aging and stuff like that. This is the array of different stains that I use to achieve the look. The natural golden oak, ebony. The ebony, not only did I use it in some places like here, I took a Q-tip and I had screwed some holes in here to emulate nail holes. I think like right here turned out really good. And then I just took a Q-tip and dabbed a little bit of that there to create that old nail hole with the staining effect, like the nails rust and they leave like a black stain. So this is the first side. Now I will, as you can tell, they're not glued down. So I got to glue and clamp them down, and then I'll start on the next side. Okay, so I've got them all finished. One side is still drying, but now I'm going to cut them in half. So I'm going to put them up on this table saw. They turned out a little heavier than I was hoping, so it's going to be something of a challenge by myself. So after I cut it in half, what I'm also going to do is come along and plane this edge. As you can see, there's like glue that pressed out and stuff like that. Just kind of clean up that edge. And when I say clean up, I'm just going to take maybe a blade's width off of it. So, staining, some of the things I learned. I tried to do a lot of different variations. Some I like a lot, some I don't like. For instance, I found that going with too dark a contrast doesn't always work out. Not so crazy about this, not so crazy about this. But I found, let's take a look at this other one that I just did. Like this is the red oak surrounded by golden oak. Not crazy about it. But with dark walnut down the middle and golden oak on the sides, I found if they're closer in color, they tend to be a little more subtle, except this one, which I do like, which is a natural color with, I think, dark walnut or golden oak on the side. I like the way that turned out. And here we have dark walnut and red oak. And so since they're both dark, it kind of gives it a unique look. But, so that's what I found. If I try and do something to this, but it's on there now, so it is what it is. So like I said, now we're gonna cut them and clean up the edges, and next we'll be mounting the hardware. All right, so I finished all the panels, got instead of painting the edges, I just went ahead and stained them with the same stain that was there, just because I'm getting tired of this project. It's been dragging on forever. Anyway, I feel like that's gonna be okay. So I got the hinges on, and I put the hardware in. Let's see if you can, up there. So now I'm gonna take this first panel in and put it in place. It is much heavier than I had anticipated, so hopefully the track system can hold this kind of weight. It's about as heavy as a solid core door, which I guess in essence that's what it is. I mean, you got a solid core door. Okay, so let's see how that works. Okay, so that is them hung up, and I put little handles on there, and it works. I was really concerned about the weight, but let's see if you can see up close how that distressed wood really looks. Turned out really good. Everybody that's seen it's been very happy with it. For as heavy as these are, they slide pretty good. The only thing left to do is I'll put a little bit of quarter round around the edge just to conceal the track, which you can kind of see up there, and this little bit of reveal on the sides. So a little quarter round going up and down will hide all that. But that is the finished door. Now it's just serendipitous that it kind of makes an X on this side and a diamond pattern on the back side. It's like I can't get far enough away to get the whole door in there, but this is just a hall to the other side of the house, and so that's the whole point of this door, was to divide those two sides of the house. So that's that. Happy to be done. So if you have any questions about the process or the stains that I used or that vinegar stain, which is really cool, and there's other tutorials online that will tell you how to make it, and they're all a little bit different. So if you have any questions about how I made it, I'd be happy to tell you. Just leave a comment and I will respond. So have a good time. Talk to you soon.